The forgotten warnings. The Galactic Council was old, proud, and very sure of itself. For thousands of years it ruled the stars. Great empires sat in shining halls filled with leaders from 100 alien races. They believed they had seen everything. They believed no young species could ever surprise them. And so, when the humans of Earth began sending signals, the Council laughed. At first, those signals were weak radio waves, just whispers carried across the void. Reports came in from listening posts at the edge of human space. "The humans are talking again," the operators said. Council members rolled their eyes. To them, humanity was a child playing with toys. They saw Earth as small, poor, and primitive. They believed humans had nothing to offer, but humans did not stop sending signals. Again and again, strange transmissions arrived. Messages filled with patterns, numbers, and warnings. Some were clear, some were hidden inside codes. They all carried the same meaning. We are building something. We are preparing. You should take notice. The Council did not take notice. They ignored every signal. When their aides asked, "Should we investigate?" the Council laughed. "Investigate humans? Why waste time? They are barely out of their cradle." For the Council, humans were nothing but noise. Years passed. The signals became sharper, stronger, more organized. One report told of huge machines being built in orbit. Another spoke of energy spikes around Earth's moon. But the Council dismissed them. Exaggerations, they said. Rumors. When a young officer insisted that humans might be developing weapons, his superiors silenced him. "Do not waste our time," they said. In secret, humanity watched and waited. They had learned enough of the galaxy to know one truth. No one would help them. No one respected them. The Council had made its judgment. Humans were weak. Humans were children. Humans could be ignored. And so Earth turned inward, silent, focused. The silence worried a few, but not enough. In council chambers, some members asked, "Why have the humans stopped sending signals? They spoke so often before. Why are they quiet now?" The answer always came with a smile. They have given up. They realized their place in the galaxy, but the truth was very different. The humans had not given up. They were preparing. The warnings they sent had not been jokes. They were honest. They had told the galaxy exactly what was coming, but no one had listened. On Earth, factories burned day and night. In orbit, dark shapes began to form. Huge platforms, skeletons of steel growing like silent giants above the world. On the moon, tunnels dug deeper, hiding secrets in rock and shadow. Humanity was changing. Humanity was becoming dangerous, and the Council never saw it. One evening, deep inside the shining chambers of the Council, an elder alien rose. His scales shimmered with age, his eyes sharp. "I have lived long enough to see many empires fall," he said. Always the same mistake. They ignore the warnings of the young. They think themselves untouchable. That is when they die. The chamber filled with laughter. "Are you suggesting," another leader sneered, "that the humans could be a danger to us?" The elder lowered his head. "Perhaps not now, but soon." His warning was dismissed. His voice was drowned by pride. And so the Council carried on with its endless arguments, its debates over taxes, borders, and trade. The galaxy's greatest rulers ignored the one thing that mattered most. A new predator was sharpening its claws. Back on Earth, a different kind of council met. Not of alien races, but of human generals, engineers, and scientists. They studied the silence from the stars and understood. "They are not listening," one said. "Good, then we build without fear," another added. "One day they will come. When they do, they must find us ready." The humans remembered every insult, every laugh, every dismissal. They remembered how the Council ignored their warnings. And in that memory they found fire. Fire to build, fire to fight, fire to prove that humanity was no one's child. The years of silence stretched on. The Council grew more arrogant. Humanity grew more prepared. And somewhere, deep in the void, a first Armada began to gather, sent by those who thought Earth was weak. They would learn soon enough. For now, the galaxy believed in the same lie it always had, that humans were nothing to fear. But in the shadows of orbit, in the dust of the moon, and in the hearts of billions, the truth was waiting. The forgotten warnings would soon be remembered. The gathering Armada, the silence of Earth puzzled many, but the Galactic Council did not feel fear. Instead, they felt insult. To them, silence was weakness. To them, humanity had bowed its head. But in the grand halls of the Council, pride was sharper than wisdom. and pride demanded punishment. Whispers spread from system to system. The humans no longer speak. Traders claimed they saw strange machines in orbit. Scouts reported structures on the moon. But every warning ended the same way, mocked and dismissed. Humans cannot build anything that matters, said the lords of the council. If they dare resist, we will crush them. So the order was given. An armada was to be assembled. Not a small fleet, not a handful of ships, but a vast wave of steel and fire. Thousands of warships were summoned from the far edges of the council's territory. Carriers, dreadnoughts, destroyers, and escorts, each one painted with the banners of proud empires. The fleet grew day by day until it was the largest force ever gathered against a single world. The decision was not strategy. It was arrogance. The council wanted to make a spectacle. They wanted every species to see the lesson. This is what happens when a child dares to challenge its elders. The gathering began at a star system close to Earth. It was a staging point, a harbor of suns, chosen for its empty skies. One by one, the warships arrived, dropping from faster-than-light travel like shadows falling on water. The void filled with their presence, lines of cruisers stretching farther than the eye could see. Formations so large they blotted out starlight. From the bridges of their ships, alien commanders looked at Earth's position on their charts and laughed. One world, they said. One tiny world against this. Some spoke of finishing the war in hours. Others planned to split Earth among themselves, turning continents into colonies. To them, the humans were already defeated, but in the shadows of their laughter, a few voices whispered doubt. A scout captain, young and nervous, sent reports of strange readings near the moon. He spoke of objects too large to be natural, too silent to be peaceful. His warnings were filed, then forgotten. Do not speak of ghosts, his superior snapped. And still the fleet grew. Weeks passed. The Armada became so vast that its engines shook nearby planets. Entire star systems could see the glow of the Council's pride burning in the void. The message was clear. No species, no matter how bold, could stand against this. On Earth, however, the story was different. Humanity watched the skies, their instruments counting every arrival, their leaders marking every ship. The Armada was not a surprise. It was expected. In hidden bunkers, generals looked at the charts and said only one word: good, for humanity had not built for peace. The silence of Earth had been no surrender. It had been a warning. And now the proof of that warning was coming straight toward them. Far away, the Galactic Council celebrated the size of their force. In their chambers, they spoke with glowing pride. No fleet in history has been so mighty, one delegate boasted. The humans will kneel before us, and the galaxy will remember who rules. But one elder, the same who had warned before, rose again. His voice shook, but his words were sharp. Do you not see the danger? Why gather so many ships for a single world? If they are truly weak, why send so much firepower? And if they are not weak, then perhaps we walk into their trap. The chamber fell silent for a heartbeat. Then came the laughter, the jeers, the sneers. Trapped by humans? You grow senile, old one. His words were buried under pride once more. And so the preparations continued. The first wave of ships broke formation and began their journey toward Earth. Engines flared, leaving rivers of light behind them. The galaxy watched as the Armada moved, unstoppable, unchallenged, a wall of destruction aimed at a single planet. In the dark, humanity waited. The Council believed this was the beginning of a simple conquest, but it was something far different. For every warship that entered the human sky would soon face a truth the galaxy had ignored. Railguns waited, silent, patient, cold as stone. The gathering Armada believed it was a hunter, but in truth it was prey. And as the stars shifted above Earth, the greatest trap in galactic history was about to be sprung. The forgotten warnings had turned into iron. The silence of humanity had turned into weapons, and the Council's pride had given the humans exactly what they wanted: targets. The Armada was vast. The Armada was proud, but the Armada was not ready, not for what was waiting in the shadows of Earth. First contact fire, the Armada came like a storm. Thousands of ships, their hulls shining with alien banners, slid into the black skies above Earth. Engines roared, energy fields glowed, and weapons armed. From orbit, the blue planet below looked small and fragile, like prey waiting for the predator's claws. On the flagship of the fleet, the alien commander stood tall. His eyes burned with pride. His voice thundered across every channel of the invasion force. "Humans," he declared, "you have been judged. Surrender now and your planet will be spared." But no answer came. The silence stretched cold and heavy. Seconds became minutes. The commander frowned. "Repeat the message," he ordered. His officers obeyed, sending the demand again and again. Still, no human voice replied. "Arrogant primitives," the commander spat. "They cannot even speak when spoken to." Then at last the humans answered, not with words but with action. High above Earth, something shifted. From the dark hidden shapes moved, massive towers of steel, silent until now, lit with sudden power. The alien fleet scanners blinked with alarm. Objects appeared on their displays, stations, platforms, weapons. Too many to count. "What is this?" one officer whispered. "They should not have this." The commander laughed, though unease touched his face. "Bluffs, old satellites perhaps. Fire on them if they move." But before his order could finish, the first railgun fired. There was no warning, no flash of energy, no glowing beam, only a streak, a small, simple slug of metal hurled at impossible speed. It crossed the void in silence, invisible to the naked eye, and then a council battleship was gone. The slug tore through its shields as if they were paper. It cut through the hull, splitting decks in half. A heartbeat later, the ship was nothing but fire and wreckage. Thousands of alien voices screamed into the void, then fell silent forever. The entire Armada froze. What? What was that? Officers gasped. Another shot came. Another battleship exploded, ripped apart by a single slug. No warning, no chance to block, no time to fight back. Then another. And another. The void filled with death. The commander's pride cracked. "Shields up! Scatter formations! Return fire!" Weapons blazed. Alien ships spat beams, missiles, and plasma into the dark. Explosions lit the void, but they struck nothing. The human platforms remained hidden, shielded by silence and distance. For every volley the aliens fired, another railgun slug answered. Every shot hit. Every shot killed. Destroyers split in half. Carriers cracked like eggs. Cruisers burned and fell toward Earth's gravity. What had begun as a show of power turned into slaughter. On the moon, deep within bunkers carved into stone, human generals watched the battle. Their faces were grim, their eyes hard. "They laughed at us," one said. "Let them laugh now." On Earth, crowds gathered in secret control rooms listening to the reports. Each time a railgun fired, a cheer rose. Not because they loved war, but because they had been mocked for so long. At last, the galaxy would learn. The alien commander clung to his pride. "Advance!" he shouted. "Overwhelm them. They cannot stop us all." But railguns did not stop. More platforms revealed themselves. From Earth's orbit, from the dark side of the moon, even from hidden stations drifting in deep space, slugs flew like rain, tearing through ship after ship. The fleet's formations collapsed. Ships scattered in panic, breaking ranks. Admirals screamed for order, but order was gone. The galaxy's greatest armada was being broken not by beams of light, but by simple, brutal metal. Some ships tried to flee. Their engines flared, leaping toward the safety of faster-than-light travel. But railguns were faster. Slugs pierced engines, tore bridges apart, and left fleeing ships dead in the water. The commander's ship shook as a slug grazed its shields, tearing away armor. For the first time in his long career, fear filled his chest. He had believed humans were children. Now he saw the truth. They were wolves wearing the skin of prey. In council chambers far away, the battle was broadcast. Billions of aliens watched as the proud armada crumbled. Silence filled the great hall. No one laughed now. No one mocked. They saw dreadnoughts fall like toys. They saw mighty shields collapse under iron. And they realized the humans had not been lying. The warnings had been true. Back in the void, the commander gave his last order. His voice trembled as he spoke. "Retreat. Retreat at once." But for many, it was already too late. The first contact between humans and the council was not words, not peace, not negotiation. It was fire. It was railguns. It was death. And as the fleet burned above Earth, a message formed in every survivor's mind. Humanity had been ignored. Humanity had been mocked. Now humanity had answered. The storm of metal. The first shots had shaken the armada, but what followed was worse than any nightmare. From the black of space, the hidden platforms came alive. Dozens, then hundreds of railguns lit with power. Their barrels glowed faintly as coils hummed with deadly energy. The silence ended in thunder. The void became a storm, slugs fired in volleys, thousands every minute. Invisible lines of death ripped through the darkness. They did not shine. They did not roar. They simply arrived, fast, unstoppable, precise. Alien ships were built for energy wars, not for this. Their shields could block beams, absorb plasma, even scatter missiles, but against raw, solid metal moving faster than sound could measure, their defenses cracked like glass. One destroyer vanished in a flash, its bridge gone before the crew knew they were hit. A cruiser spun out of formation, ripped open by two slugs that cut it from bow to stern. A dreadnought, proud and massive, collapsed as its engines detonated, leaving only drifting fire and broken steel. The fleet tried to respond. Their weapons screamed, painting the void with light. Plasma cannons spat fire, lasers slashed, missiles streaked through blackness. Explosions lit the sky, but they struck empty shadows. Humanity's platforms fired and then fell silent, moving, hiding, cloaking themselves in the dark. For every human weapon lost, 10 alien ships burned. From Earth's surface, the night sky turned strange. Citizens looked up and saw faint flashes, tiny sparks high above, like stars dying one by one. They did not know the full truth, but they understood enough. Their world was fighting back. On the moon, inside hidden command bunkers, human officers stood before giant screens. Every green light was a platform. Every red light was a kill. The map bled red. "Keep the fire steady," the general said calmly. "Do not waste slugs. Every shot counts, and every shot did count." The alien commander roared in desperation. "Break their lines. Push forward. Surround them." But there were no lines to break. Humanity's weapons were everywhere. Platforms drifted among satellites camouflaged by debris. Railguns fired from lunar craters, invisible until too late. Even Earth itself roared. Massive cannons hidden on the planet's surface fired upward, punching holes through warships in orbit. It was not a battle. It was a slaughter. The storm of metal grew heavier. The sky was filled with tumbling wrecks, broken carriers, shattered frigates, drifting escape pods. Alien voices filled the comm channels, begging for orders, begging for mercy. The commander gave none. His pride kept him blind. "Advance!" he shouted again and again. "We are the Council. We cannot fall to primitives." But fall they did. The humans had planned every step. They had studied the Council for years, learned their tactics, their arrogance, their weaknesses. They knew the aliens would come in a great swarm, proud and careless. They knew the aliens would never expect silence to hide power, so the humans waited. They built railguns in secret, lined them across orbit and the moon, trained every gunner until they could strike a target half a world away. Now all of that patience erupted in the storm. One alien cruiser tried to ram a platform, charging forward at full speed, but 3 slugs tore through it before it got close. Another ship attempted to launch drones, only to have its hangar shredded open, its fighters spilling into space like sparks from a dying flame. The galaxy watched in horror. Broadcasts carried the battle across countless worlds. Species that once laughed at humanity now stared in silence. The Council's pride, its largest fleet, its grand armada, was being reduced to wreckage by a planet they called primitive. On Earth, a young soldier looked at the screens and whispered, "They called us children," another soldier answered. "Then let them see what grown children can do," and the storm raged on. Hours passed, though for the survivors it felt like days. Railguns never tired, never lost focus. Their barrels heated, cooled, and fired again. Their slugs flew endlessly, tearing steel apart like paper. When the alien commander finally ordered retreat, half his fleet was already gone. Those who fled left behind burning comrades, shattered pride, and a graveyard of ships around Earth. The storm did not follow. Humanity had no need. The message was already written in wreckage. The storm of metal had spoken. Above Earth, in the silence after slaughter, only drifting fire remained. The Armada that once promised victory had become a warning of its own, and the galaxy understood at last. Humanity's silence had been a trap. The forgotten warnings were now carved in steel and ash. The fall of the Armada. The storm had broken the fleet, but the storm did not end there. What came next was worse, the slow, crushing fall of the Armada. The Council had sent its greatest force. Thousands of ships, banners of power, weapons of pride. Now, more than half of them were gone. The sky above Earth was no longer filled with shining warships. It was filled with fire, debris, and the drifting bones of a once mighty fleet. The alien commander stood on the bridge of his flagship, his hands shaking. Around him, screens showed disaster. Red icons where green once stood. Broken transmissions from dying crews. The cries of officers begging for help. He slammed his fist against the console. We are not beaten. Reform the lines. But no lines remained. What had once been an ocean of order was now a sea of chaos. Ships scattered, captains fleeing in every direction. Discipline lost to panic. From orbit, the humans watched. Their railguns cooled, reloaded, and fired again. No wasted shots, no mercy. A retreating frigate was pierced through its engines, left tumbling in silence. A carrier tried to shield itself behind wreckage, only to be ripped apart by 3 slugs that found its core. Every attempt to escape became another death. In lunar bunkers, human commanders spoke calmly. Focus fire. Cut down the leaders. Leave the rest to panic, and panic spread like a disease. Alien ships collided as they tried to flee. Communications broke apart, orders lost in screaming chaos. Some fired blindly, their shots striking allies instead of enemies. Others shut down entirely, hoping to hide among wreckage, but the railguns were patient. They found them. One by one, the ships that once formed the Council's pride became corpses drifting in the void. On Earth, people gathered in cities, watching the skies and the hidden broadcasts. They could not see every detail, but they saw enough. The flashes, the falling wreckage, the proof that their planet was no longer prey. They whispered to each other, voices filled with awe and fear. We are winning. But the humans themselves did not cheer. Their leaders knew this was not victory. It was only survival. The Council would not forget this day. More fleets would come. Stronger fleets. What humanity had bought with steel and silence was only time. Still, the fall of the Armada changed everything. In the Council chambers across the galaxy, the battle played on grand displays. Billions of eyes stared in disbelief as dreadnoughts fell, as carriers burned, as escape pods floated like sparks across the void. Delegates who once mocked the warning sat in silence, their arrogance turned to ash. Some whispered, "This cannot be true. This is trickery." Others whispered, "If they can do this, what else can they do?" The elder, the one who had warned them before, sat with his eyes closed. "I told you," he murmured. "You ignored the warnings. Now you watch your Armada die." Back above Earth, the alien commander gave his last desperate command. All remaining ships retreat at once. Engines roared as survivors turned away, leaping for faster-than-light escape. But even retreat was not simple. Railgun slugs tore through their engines, their hulls, their pride. Dozens more ships fell before the humans allowed the survivors to flee. At last, silence returned. The battle was over. The Armada was broken. The void above Earth was a graveyard of fire. On the moon, the human general leaned over the map. "Report casualties." A voice answered, "Minimal, sir. Platforms intact. Ammunition levels steady." The general nodded. "Then the message is clear." The message was not sent with words. It was sent with wreckage. The Council had ignored every signal, every warning. Now their greatest fleet was destroyed, and the galaxy had seen it happen. The fall of the Armada spread like fire through every star system. Traders carried whispers. Refugees carried stories. Soldiers carried fear. Everywhere the same words were spoken. The humans have weapons that even the Council cannot stop. In the ruins of his flagship, the alien commander sat in silence. His ship limped through space, broken but alive. Pride had left him. He no longer thought of humans as children. He thought of them as monsters wearing human skin. Monsters that had been ignored too long, and deep on Earth, in secret halls, the human leaders gathered. They did not celebrate. They looked at the wreckage, at the fire above their world, and said only one thing. This was just the beginning. The fall of the Armada was not the end of war. It was the opening act. And in that silence, the galaxy realized the truth. The humans had not just defended themselves. They had changed the balance of power forever. The silent message, the battle was over. The wreckage of the great Armada drifted above Earth like a broken crown. Fires burned in the void, ships lay in pieces, and the silence of death filled the stars. Humanity had not spoken during the fight. Their railguns had spoken for them. But now, with the Council's fleet in ruins and survivors fleeing into the dark, humanity chose to speak. A single broadcast left Earth. It was not wrapped in codes, not hidden in patterns, not carried as whispers like before. This time the message was clear, sharp, and impossible to ignore. It said only one thing: we warned you. Now you will listen. The words echoed across the stars. Every surviving ship received them. Every council world replayed them. Every species that had mocked humanity heard them in their own tongue. Simple, direct, final. And with that, the humans went silent again. No more transmissions. No threats. No demands. Just silence. The kind of silence that unsettled the proud, that shook the arrogant, that made even the strongest rulers feel small. In the council chambers, chaos erupted. Delegates shouted at one another, their voices rising in fear and anger. This cannot be. A primitive world cannot destroy an armada. Others demanded answers. How long have they been building? Who supplied them? What else do they hide? No one had answers. The elder, the one who had warned them long before, stood again. His voice was weary but certain. They told us. Again and again. They warned us. We laughed. We dismissed. And now their silence is not weakness, it is power. But the proud still argued. Some shouted, we must send more fleets. Crush them before they grow stronger. Others whispered, what if railguns are not their only weapon? What if this was only their beginning? Fear spread like poison. Across the galaxy, ordinary people watched the broadcasts. They saw council warships, symbols of untouchable power, fall like toys to human slugs. Traders, miners, wanderers, soldiers, each carried the same thought. If the council can fall, then the galaxy is not as safe as it claims. In back alleys of alien cities, whispers grew. Maybe the council is not as strong as it says. In colonies on distant moons, workers murmured, if humans can resist, maybe we can too. Rebellion, once unthinkable, began to bloom in hearts across the stars. On Earth, the leaders met in silence. Their generals reported victory. Their engineers spoke of weapons still hidden, platforms still secret, projects still unfinished. Humanity had not revealed everything. They had shown only what was needed. The president of the Council of Nations looked at the room and said, the galaxy has heard us. They will come again, but now they will come with fear. The generals nodded. Fear was their weapon now, as sharp as any railgun slug. Far away on a world deep within the council's core, a child asked his father, are the humans dangerous? The father hesitated, then whispered, yes, but more dangerous is this. They told the truth and no one believed them. The silent message had done more than destroy an armada. It had shattered trust in the council itself. The rulers who claimed wisdom had been proven blind. The leaders who promised safety had delivered ruin. And all because they ignored a young species that refused to be ignored. The council tried to hide the scale of the defeat, but they could not. Too many had seen. Too many had heard. The broadcast could not be erased. The silence of the humans now carried more weight than the words of the council. In private meetings, some council members begged for peace. Send envoys, they said. Offer treaties. Better to bend than to break. But others pounded the table with fury. Peace with them? Never. We will rebuild. We will return. We will crush their world until nothing remains. The galaxy held its breath. On Earth, children looked up at the night sky and asked their parents why the stars glowed with fire. Their parents told them the truth. The council came to conquer. They failed. And in those words, pride stirred in human hearts. For the first time in history, humanity was not begging for recognition. They had taken it, and still they said nothing more. The silence remained. It was louder than any speech, heavier than any threat, more terrifying than any promise. Every alien who had seen the battle now wondered, if this is what humans do in silence, what will they do when they truly speak? The silent message was not a declaration of war. It was something greater. It was a warning to the galaxy itself. Ignore humanity at your peril. The new balance of power, the galaxy was no longer the same. Where once the Galactic Council's power stretched unchallenged, now doubt spread like cracks in glass. The wreckage of the Armada drifted above Earth, a silent monument to pride destroyed. Billions across the stars whispered the same words. The Council is not invincible. The humans have changed everything. In the council chambers, the atmosphere was heavy. Delegates filled the grand hall, their voices sharp, their faces pale with fear. The banners of empires hung above them, but they no longer shone with certainty. The first speaker shouted, "We must strike again. The humans must be crushed before they grow stronger." His voice echoed, desperate, almost panicked. Others joined him, pounding their tables, calling for vengeance. But across the hall another voice rose, softer but colder. "Strike again? With what fleet? Do you not see? Half our strength is gone. The humans destroyed it in hours." The chamber erupted in arguments. Some demanded war, others begged for peace, but no agreement could be reached. For the first time in centuries, the council was divided. The elder who had warned them before spoke once more. His voice carried over the chaos. "You still do not understand. The humans told us the truth. We ignored them. Now they have shown us. If we attack again, we may not survive. If we choose peace, perhaps we live." Silence followed his words. Not agreement, but fear. No one wanted to admit he was right, yet no one could deny it. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the balance shifted. Small races, long bullied by the council, whispered among themselves. "If the humans can stand, why not us?" Rebel groups rose on forgotten moons. Colonies questioned the council's rule. Old enemies of the council began sharpening their blades. The fall of the Armada was not just humanity's victory, it was a signal to every corner of the galaxy. The rulers were not untouchable. The order of stars could change. On Earth, the mood was different. The people celebrated quietly. There were no great parades, no open cheers. Humanity understood the truth. This was not an ending, but a beginning. In hidden chambers, the human leaders gathered again. Maps of the galaxy spread before them. Red marks showed council strongholds. Blue marks showed allies, few but growing. Gray marks showed unknown powers, waiting to see which side would rise. A general spoke first. "They will come again. Not tomorrow, not next week, but soon. The council cannot leave this unanswered." A scientist added, "They believe railguns are our greatest weapon. Let them believe. They have not seen what else we are building." The room fell silent. Humanity's greatest strength was not what they had revealed, but what they had not. Beyond Earth, platforms still waited, hidden in the shadows. Factories still forged weapons the galaxy had never seen. Projects whispered about in secret labs continued, unknown to even most humans. The railguns were only the first layer of humanity's answer. On the council's homeworld, the surviving commanders of the Armada returned. Their faces carried shame, their voices cracked with failure. Some were executed, others silenced, but none could erase the truth. The council had been broken. The galaxy's greatest predator had been forced to bleed, and now every world knew it. Among the survivors of the fleet, whispers spread. Captains who once mocked humanity now told stories of fear. They described railgun slugs tearing ships apart in silence. They spoke of platforms hidden like shadows, of a storm of metal that nothing could stop. Their words carried farther than orders ever could. Fear had taken root. The balance of power had shifted. Humanity was no longer prey. Humanity was no longer ignored. Humanity was now a force every ruler, every soldier, every citizen had to consider. And yet, the humans themselves stayed quiet. After their single broadcast, "We warned you. Now you will listen." They said nothing more. No new demands, no promises, just silence. That silence was more powerful than fleets, more powerful than threats. It made every species wonder, what comes next? On a distant world, a young alien child asked his mother, "Will the humans attack us?" The mother held her child close and whispered, "No one knows. That is why we are afraid." The galaxy had entered a new age. The council's arrogance was broken, and humanity's silence filled the stars. The story of Earth was no longer that of a small, ignored world. It was the story of a new power rising, a power that had spoken through steel and silence, a power that had shown the galaxy a truth it would never forget. The humans had railguns. The humans had patience. The humans had been ignored, and now the galaxy would never ignore them again.